All right, today we're going to do something a little different. We're going on a journey, not just through the pages of the Bible, but like into the actual world behind the pages. And I promise you, this little trip is going to completely change how you read scripture. It's like going from black and white to full-blown high-def color. I mean, have you ever been there? You're reading along, maybe in your quiet time, and bam, you hit a verse or a whole passage that just feels, well, completely foreign, right? You know it's supposed to be important, but you just can't connect with it. It feels like it was written for another time, maybe even another planet. Yeah, like you open up First Corinthians and Paul starts going on and on about food offered to idols. And you're thinking, okay, when was the last time that was an issue for me in the frozen food aisle? It's so easy to just kind of glaze over and skip those parts. But what if? What if understanding that one weird little phrase could actually unlock the entire point of the chapter? Okay, so to solve this problem, we need to get our heads around one big transformative idea, and it's this. Think of reading the Bible like you're kind of reading someone else's mail. And that brings us to this single, absolutely critical principle. You got to hear this. The Bible was written for us, but it wasn't written to us. See the difference? Its message is timeless. It's for all of us, for sure. But the original letters, they weren't addressed to 21st century you. They were written to real people living in a very different world. So that makes us, well, it makes us invited eavesdroppers. We get to listen in on this incredible conversation between God and his people all throughout history. But, to understand that conversation faithfully, we have to do a little homework. We've got to learn about their world, their customs, and the actual real-life stuff they were dealing with. So, to actually do this, we need to get a few key terms in our heads. Think of these as the essential tools for our tool belt. The things that are going to let us step into that ancient world and really see the text through their eyes. Okay, first up, cultural context. This is all the stuff in our own culture that we never ever have to explain to each other. Like why we stop at red lights, or why you tip your waiter, or what a Super Bowl party event is. It's the air we breathe, the world we just take for granted. Well, guess what? The biblical world had its own set of these unwritten rules about honor and shame, hospitality, family, all this stuff that totally shaped how they heard and understood everything. Next up, we have historical background. This is the nitty-gritty, the specific stuff that was actually happening when a book was written. A perfect example, Paul writes in Philippians all about finding joy in every circumstance. Okay, nice sentiment. But it hits you like a ton of bricks when you learn the historical background. He wrote that from prison, literally chained to a Roman guard. See? That's not just background noise. It's the stage the whole drama is playing out on. And finally, this is the big one we have to avoid at all costs. Anachronism. It's a fancy word, but it literally just means against time. And it's the classic mistake of taking our modern ideas, our modern values, our modern world, and just plopping it down on top of the ancient text. It is probably the most common and most subtle error we all make. It really is like trying to cram 21st century IKEA furniture into a first century living room. It just doesn't fit. A classic example, we read the word church and we immediately picture a building, right? With pews and a steeple. But that's an anachronism. The original Greek word ekklesia just meant a gathering, an assembly of people, and they usually met in someone's house. Just understanding that one little detail changes how you read almost all of Paul's letters. So, what happens when we actually start using these tools? Well, this is where the magic happens. This is where those vague, confusing black and white passages suddenly become vivid. This is the aha moment, where the text just pops and comes alive in its original brilliant color. Okay, let's see this in action, because this is the fun part. Let's go back to 1 Corinthians 8, the meat and idols thing. Without context, it's just a weird passage about food preferences. But with context, once you know that most meat sold in Corinth came from pagan temple sacrifices, suddenly it becomes this powerful practical lesson on how our love for a brother or sister should limit our personal freedom. Huge difference. Or how about the lost sheep in Luke 15? Without context, it's a sweet little story about God caring for people. Aw. But with context, knowing shepherds were social outcasts and that a religious leader eating with sinners was absolutely scandalous, it becomes a radical, in-your-face defense of God's love for the people everyone else despises. And Peter's vision, Acts 10, you think it's about God changing the menu and telling him to eat bacon? Nope. It's about God completely demolishing the 1,000-year-old barrier between Jew and Gentile. You see? Context changes everything. All right, so this is all great, but how can you actually start doing this yourself? I know it might sound kind of academic or intimidating, but it's really not. Let's break it down and make it super practical. I'm talking a few simple steps anyone can take, like this week. Really, it just comes down to 3 basic steps. Step 1, investigate first. Before you even try to figure out what it means for you, just ask the simple questions. Who wrote this? Who were they writing to? And what was the situation on the ground? Step 2, get one good tool. Seriously, you don't need a seminary library. A study Bible or a Bible dictionary is all you need to get started. And step 3, practice on a familiar verse. Take a verse you think you know really well, look up the context, and just see what happens. I bet you'll be surprised. And when I say get a tool, this is what I'm talking about. A good study Bible is awesome because it has all these little notes right at the bottom of the page that explain this stuff for you. The NIV Cultural Background Study Bible is like a goldmine for this, or just a simple Bible dictionary. It lets you look up words like Corinth or Pharisee and get the backstory. And listen, this isn't cheating. It's just being a good, responsible reader of someone else's mail. Because here's the bottom line. Studying the world of the Bible doesn't shrink the text. It doesn't make it irrelevant or put it in a box. No, it does the exact opposite. It unlocks the rich, deep, powerful meaning that was there all along. Just remember this. Context doesn't limit the meaning. It reveals it. So, I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on. Think of a verse you really love. One of those verses that's been super important to you. Now ask yourself, what if understanding its original context, the actual world it was born into, could make it mean even more? What kind of treasures are just waiting for you right there just beneath the surface?